In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
What? You do the intro then.
Hello and welcome to Vicky Fraser. What do you say? Business for Superheroes podcast.
I say the same thing every week.
I know. I generally just wait to the point where I say hello.
Hello and welcome to. and that's 22 seconds of value that these people are going to be glad to have.
How much are they paying?
Oh, they can have their money
Nothing.
back.
They can have all their money back.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my Muppet.
Hello.
How you doing? Joe's literally just walked in.
I have actually just arrived home. I've opened a beer, sat down, and I have no idea what's going on.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is brought to you by non-alcoholic Cobra in my case.
And lovely, lovely proper beer in my case.
Actually, the Cobra tastes pretty good. It's like Beck's Blue tastes minging.
Yeah.
Cobra, I quite like.
Okay.
Anyway, so this week we are talking about how to come up with ideas.
Were we not at the point where we should finish off something we did last time?
No, we finished last time.
Did we?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were talking about email marketing and stuff, and we finished on one of the things that people most often object to when I tell them they should email often is, well, where do I get my ideas? And they say to you, where do you get all your ideas from? To me.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, we're going to do that next week.
Next week podcast. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fine. I thought we left it kind of, hanging.
Nope. I don't think so. I'm not sure. So yeah, I want to clear up a few misconceptions this week before we get into the meat of meaty ideas. Misconceptions about creativity.
Misconceptions about creativity.
Yeah. Because, yeah, basically.
What?
Oh. Well, one of the things that people say when I say they should email every day is, as I've just said.
Tell them what you told them.
Where do I get ideas from? I'm not creative. I can't come up with ideas. And that's nonsense because it's just laziness. Nonsense. Because I think, in my humble opinion, which is also correct.
Well, of course.
There is no such thing as creative people and not creative people.
Bold statement.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's not, and because it's not just like artists and musicians and all the rest of it. People, engineers and scientists and technologists. That sort of thing. Yes. Those people who are kind of traditionally not thought of as being creative types are totally creative because loads and loads of the world's biggest discoveries and inventions have come from either creativity or by accident.
I invent
why were you
things.
Making a face then?
No, I invent things all the time.
Like what?
They quite often don't work, but I invent them anyway.
Like, what have you invented that doesn't work?
Ooh.
Recently?
No, that doesn't work. Not very much, to be fair.
Yeah.
Most of my things work. I invented. I'm an engineer. I design and invent things.
Yeah.
People come to us with problems, we invent solutions.
Anyway, so yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to kind of get out of the way, is that I don't believe, and therefore it is true, that there is no such thing as creative people or non-creative people. There are just...
You don't believe that there's no such thing?
I believe that there is no such thing as creative people or not creative people.
So I thought I just...
And actually, it's just laziness.
Laziness.
Yeah, so there's just curious thinkers and lazy people, I think.
Okay, so I'm with you on that.
That's point the first.
I even know some engineers who are pretty lazy.
Yeah. I mean, deep down, everybody's lazy because given the opportunity to do nothing, that's what most people will do. I thought I'd wait until you were drinking beer to let you jump in there.
Good timing. Well done. Big mouthful of beer.
And the other thing that I wanted to, before we kind of went into ideas, is uniqueness.
Uniqueness.
Yeah, stop bloody stressing about it. And I was listening to a podcast the other day which kind of fired off some thoughts in my head about how humans we're all really similar to each other. We've all evolved in such a way that to all intents and purposes we're identical.
Okay.
Well,
for a given level of
for a given level of identicalness, like compared to dogs, for
identicality.
example. Yeah, like compared to dogs, for example. Humans are humans, and we are so similar to each other that we might as well be the same. We've evolved in the same way.
Okay.
There aren't that many, it's not like there are kind of Shetland pony people, and I suppose there are actually, because there's dwarfs. Anyway.
This is getting strange. I just walked in, sat down, and here we are. What's going on?
Well, this is like, I got thoughts. Anyway, my point was that the way we think and act and behave.
We're going to get complaints from the Shetland pony people now.
Probably the bronies. Okay, let's not go there. Yeah, but the way we think and act and behave is all largely the same because we are all driven by the same stuff. And when it comes to education, and particularly when you're thinking about a specific field of study, we all have access to the same information and the same ideas and the same.
We kind of do now, assuming you're reasonably connected.
Even long ago we did, because people still it took longer, obviously, for ideas to kind of circulate, but I'm going to come to that in a second. You've just given me a nice little segue in.
But there's got to be different levels of accessibility. I mean, somebody who's living on the poverty line in the Sahel somewhere.
And where?
The Sahel region, south of the Sahara. Did you not do geography at school?
Not that specifically, no.
Okay. So somebody living on the breadline and compared to you sat here with your beardy Mac and your internet connections.
No, but I'm not.
Levels of...
Yeah, but I'm talking about. But all of the people that are in that area of the Sahara will have broadly the same experiences and access to similar information and all the rest of it, and they probably have access to more information than you might think.
Probably.
But my point is, anyway, that it's really common for more than one person to come up with an idea independently.
Sure.
And let's take a few examples.
Okay, let's do that.
Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz both came up with calculus independently of each other.
They did.
They did. Newton almost certainly discovered it first in around 1666, but he didn't tell anyone about it because he was a weirdo.
Okay.
And Leibniz discovered it in about 1673, but he came at it from a slightly different angle to Newton. And Leibniz's notation was better, and we still use his notation today. But Newton is famouser.
We being a fairly loose term for the people who daily do calculus.
Yeah. Nerd alert, I actually have a book on calculus. It's actually really good.
That little Victorian one, yeah?
No, I think it's called Calculus for the Confused or something. Okay. Or maybe that was just me looking at it and being confused and renaming it. But anyway, yes. Okay. So
calculus invented, two separate people. Yeah. Very close together.
But they were both circulating their ideas in the same kind of mathematical, nerdy, 17th century, 15th, 16th, 100s.
They were both marinating in the same information soup.
Yes, they were. Joe looks really pleased with himself right now. So yeah, that's the first example that I've got. The second example is Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. Have you ever heard of Alfred Russel Wallace?
He's the one who complained that Darwin used his theory of evolution.
But he didn't complain, you see, because he was a really nice guy. He was such a nice guy that he just let Darwin take all the credit. Not that Darwin stole the credit, because the point was that they kind of both came up with evolution kind of independently, but they also both worked together.
Right.
And in fact, Darwin wasn't even the first one to suggest something like evolution. There was a whole bunch of ideas floating around in that same, with people thinking about it for a while. It's just that he came up with the mechanism for it.
Right.
So yeah, there's that. But Darwin was just much better at marketing his own stuff.
He just got the book out first.
Yeah, well, no, you kind of laugh. But, I mean, I think even Darwin even credits Wallace in a lot of his stuff, but nobody took any notice because Wallace was very kind of self-effacing and Darwin was like, right, I've got this stuff and you need to read it. And there's a massive lesson in there for you, by the way, people.
You need a big beard.
Darwin
had a beard.
He did. So did Wallace.
Did he?
Yeah.
But it wasn't as good.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, you need a big beard and you need to be willing to promote your own stuff. One of those is more important than the other. I'll leave it up to you to kind of decide.
Beard.
Says the man without a beard.
Yeah.
Okay, invention number 3. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. And on exactly the same day...
What?
So did Alicia Gray.
The same day?
Well, they didn't. Obviously, it was a process rather than an event. But Alicia Gray was also a prolific inventor and walked into the patent office with his telephone patent design on the exact same day as Bell did. By the way, if you're interested in historical fisticuffs and handbag fights, you should totally read up about Alexander Graham Bell and Alicia Gray, because it turned into a whole handbags at dawn thing.
Cool.
I did it first. No, I did it first. He stole my ideas. And actually, if you look at Alexander Graham Bell's very first telephone, the one that he did the first words on, which I can't remember now. What were the first words on the telephone?
Oh, I should know that, but I don't.
Oh, crikey, that's a bit shameful.
First person to email in Windsor.
No, I'll just Google it.
Yeah.
I don't trust you people. But yeah. Anyway, so Alexander Graham Bell's device that is pictured and was the one that he made the first call on looks spookily similar to the patent pictures submitted by Alicia Gray.
Really?
And you know all the controversy about Edison and Tesla, and yeah, so anyway, but they both came up with a device basically that turned sound waves into fluctuating current, and they both came up with very similar ideas, and which isn't surprising when you consider that they were both inventors in the telephone in the telegraph industry.
Yeah.
So there you go. And Einstein, he came up with E = mc squared. So did Henri Poincaré.
He didn't come up with E = mc squared, though, did he?
No.
He came up with similar relationships.
Yeah, he discovered the relationship between mass and energy, but he didn't come up with the equation.
He hadn't spotted it, that it was actually the speed of light.
Yeah. And the Italian physicist Olinto De Pretto also stumbled across E = mc squared, but he was really busy studying the rather stupid idea of ether.
Ugh.
Yeah. Loser.
Yeah.
So Einstein won it. But the point is that people were having similar ideas in the same area and at the same time, but Einstein was the one who framed it and thought it through, and
it's a hair thing. Maybe a beard isn't actually necessary, but I think you need crazy hair of some description.
Okay, I think you should do a study on the correlation between hairiness and discoveries. Stroke inventions.
I will give it a go. I will report back next week.
And remember, kids, correlation is not the same as causation.
Well, it might be. It might be the hair that does it.
I think that's unlikely.
Okay.
And finally, my final, coincidental simultaneous discovery thing is Jonas Salk. And I didn't know this. Jonas Salk was not the only one to discover the polio vaccine.
Okay.
A guy called Hilary Kopravsky developed one using a live virus. Salk used a dead virus, polio virus, before he came up with the dead one. And then Albert Sabin also made a version that actually replaced Jonas Salk's most of the worldwide, but not in America. And I hadn't heard of I've heard of Albert Sabin, but I hadn't heard of Hilary Kopravsky. So there you go. My point is, with all of this, all of these people made totally genuinely unique discoveries or inventions, but so did their contemporaries. So they all came up with, from their point of view, a unique idea or discovery, or put something together at more or less the same time as somebody else who was working on similar problems.
Thus making it not unique.
But it was, though, because everybody put their own spin on it. All of those people studying energy and mass, and Einstein was the one who came up with E = mc squared.
Right.
And that's kind of, that's
punchy. It's a good headline.
What?
E = mc squared.
It is a good headline, yeah. But yeah, we're all exposed to the same information and education and peers and research and ideas. And so trying to come up with something that is completely unique as an idea is it's an enormous waste of time and energy. And I think it'll drive people nuts. I used to obsess about this, be like, I need to come up with something that nobody else has ever done before. And the chances of that happening?
Pretty slim. Pretty slim,
yeah. I would say probably impossible, to be honest. What makes an idea or a product or a business unique is you and your take on it. It's me and my take on it. The ideas that I have around, my brain started wandering off in the direction of Shetland pony-sized humans, which obviously is little people. But, my brain said Shetland pony humans. I'm going to get letters, aren't I?
I would think so, yeah.
Anyway.
Too much Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, I love Tyrion.
Mm.
He's my favourite. And Arya. Anyway, so now we've got that out of the way.
So you don't have to be unique. In your business, you do not have to be unique. You do not have to have a unique idea, a unique product.
You do have to be unique, but you don't have to obsess about coming up with something that nobody else has ever thought of. That's not the point. That's not what unique is in business. It's unique is putting your take on it and your spin on it. And
even if that's just your personality and your style of working.
Yeah. It might be that, I'm using an amazing planner. I use it every day. It's a planner that, it plans my entire life. But it's not perfect. However, it's something that I'm going to take and create a new planner of my own, which I'm working on at the moment, which is going to be available to buy from me on my brand new website, which is awesomely nearly done. I'm really excited. So yeah, this planner idea is certainly not unique, but it's going to be mine and it's going to work better for me.
Yeah, and people like you might find it useful and want to buy it.
Exactly. So there you go. Okay, so how do we come up with these new ideas? How do people come up with ideas at all? Now that we've got away from the obsession with it has to be completely different.
You take what you've got and you increment.
You do what now? You increment. Did you just turn that into a verb?
Am I not allowed to increment things?
I suppose you can.
I think I shall.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, that's one way. I've actually got a 5-step process.
You've got a 5, right? Okay. So just stuff falling out of my head is not.
Well, no, that's perfectly reasonable. But if you want to actually get new ideas, there is a process that you can go through.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it?
Go for it.
Okay. The good news is you don't have to.
I've written some notes on this one. Can you tell?
I often write notes. The good news is that you don't have to participate in any dodgy drama classes or do any interpretive dance.
No being a tree.
No, you should only ever do interpretive dance for fun or to make people stop talking to you. Because I found that if you respond to people with interpretive dance, they tend to go away.
Yes, they do.
And you also don't have to wait for inspiration to strike, because if you do that, you'll probably die of old age before you have an idea. Inspiration only strikes when you're working. True story.
Okay.
There is such a thing as inspiration, but if you just sit there and go, I can't write my novel until inspiration hits me, then you're never going to write a novel.
You need to sit and think and work.
You need to write shit.
Write short stories, write longer stories, weave them together.
Yeah. Okay, so Bill Bernbach, who was one of the original Mad Men, he worked with David Ogilvy and all of them guys in the heyday of advertising and all the rest of it, he said, creativity is just connecting things.
Right.
And that is true. It's the essence of creativity. And Bertrand Russell, the great philosopher, the teapot man.
I'm sure he'd be delighted to be remembered as the teapot man.
I don't think he'd mind that much. And Einstein have both written about creativity.
Massive beard.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think... But Bill Bernbach was clean-shaven, though.
Probably not all the time.
Well, I don't know. But yeah, Einstein both wrote about creativity as well. So, knowledge being the basis, but it's not enough. You have to kind of connect it and, put new combinations of things together and relationships. And that's what creativity is. So, an idea is basically just a new combination of old elements. So here is a great process for coming up with new ideas based on what I've learned from James Webb Young over the years, from Bertrand Russell, and from Vilfredo Pareto.
Vilfredo Pareto.
Yeah, we've talked about him before, 80-20. So, step 1.
Massive moustache.
Step 1 is not a massive moustache.
No, Pareto.
Step 1, grow a massive moustache. Step 2, grow an enormous beard. These will both be used to capture the ideas that are flying through the ether.
Step 3, win.
You could probably sell that to people, Don't. So step 1, gather your ingredients. And by that I mean learn stuff, read stuff, watch stuff, listen to everything. So, I don't just read about marketing and copywriting. I read about all kinds of stuff, don't I?
You do.
So, magic, as in magicians' performances, not witchcraft and shit. Autobiographies, endless fiction of all genres and shapes and sizes, books of short stories, books of journalism, science books especially. Do like my science books. And history books. I don't know what I was waiting for you to say then.
I don't know either. I don't know. Was it just another...
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Active listening.
Active. I'm here.
So, yeah, basically, every creative and prolific and, productive person tends to have two characteristics, I think. They are curious about absolutely everything.
Right.
And I'm always really deeply suspicious of people who say that they are either bored or they're working on something boring. So I'm like, how can you possibly be bored if you live in the Western world with access to the internet and every manner of book and entertainment and, fairly easy access to countryside or cities with everything they have to offer? How can you possibly be bored? Ever? I mean, if you've been locked forcibly in a room with
Yeah, I mean, if your day job is digging a trench
no, but there's
in mud with a shovel.
So you plug your ears into a podcast or an audiobook. Or you have a conversation with the people that you're working with. No, that's nonsense. Unless you've been even if you've been forcibly locked in a room with no other stimulus at all, I still think that you could be making stuff up in your head.
That's next week's experiment. Vicky locked in a room for a week.
I don't think we should do that. So yeah, and people who say they're studying something boring, there is no such thing as boring. There is always an interesting angle in everything, if you've got the nous to look for it. One of my least favourite expressions that I hear is, "Oh, I'm really bored." It's like, what? You're lazy, not bored. Lazy, unthinking. Do I sound like an awful elitist snob now? I don't give a shit. It's true.
Okay.
Second thing, people read about all kinds of different fields of information. So it's why you're so great at what you do, Joe. And it's why your business is so great at what it does. Because you don't just go into manufacturing companies that do food manufacture and go, well, this is a food manufacturing problem, so I need to come up with a solution from the food manufacturing industry. You come up with ideas based on what you've done in pharmaceutical places and car factories and
yeah.
So you tell the listeners how
we have a wider we see a lot more of the world than many people who live and work in these little factories.
Which is why you can solve their problems. Yeah. Because they'll come to you with things like, "Oh, I can't possibly solve this problem," and it's impossible, don't they?
There have been a number of occasions where we said, "Well, have you thought about doing this?" And they just look at you like you're a wizard.
Yeah.
That's quite cool. I quite enjoy that.
Yeah. But it's actually, I like that. It's like any sufficiently advanced technology will look like magic. You're a wizard.
Wizard.
So yeah, that's step one. Gather your ingredients. Learn about as many things as you can.
Broaden your horizons.
Broaden your horizons, yeah. Don't just be, if you're a copywriter, don't just study copywriting. Read stories, read science, history.
Fire lots of things into your head.
Absolutely.
And watch things spark.
Yeah. Which is step 2. You digest it all. You look at all of the facts and the ideas that you learn about and turn them around and look at them from a different angle. And one thing that I quite like doing is is when you talk to people that you vehemently disagree with, or even that you hate, try putting yourself into their shoes and looking at the world from their point of view. Because they'll probably still be wrong, but you'll get a new insight into where they're coming from and why they feel the way they do and why they believe the things they do. And it'll build bridges between you because, you'll understand each other better, but you'll also learn something because you can bet that they're not going to be wrong about everything. They'll have, there'll be something in there that they'll have seen the world in a different way to you, but they've just, that's why. So that's a really useful exercise as well. So this is all about looking for connections, step 2 is.
Okay.
So step 3 is unconscious thinking.
Is that where you fall asleep and wake up with a brilliant idea?
Sort of. Yeah. But yeah, so you'll just stop thinking about it, basically. You'll go and do something else. You might be asleep. It might be a dream that you have, or you might be at the cinema, or you might be reading a book, or you might go for a run, watch TV, whatever. But don't try and force it. Don't sit there and go, right, I've got all this stuff and now I need to have a new idea.
Won't happen.
No. Well, it might do, but it probably won't. You need to kind of let your subconscious percolate it for a while. Step 4, the aha moment. That's when inspiration could strike. Usually for me, when I'm not in a position to write it down. So like I'm in the shower or driving or something.
Okay.
So yeah, keep a notebook to hand at all times.
Except when you're driving.
But even if you're driving, you can have like a voice-activated note on your phone.
Yeah.
So I have a voice notes on my phone, so if I can't stop, I'll just hit that button and then speak my note into it. And then it can, I think it's called Say It, Mail It. You say, I think the app costs like £3 or something. So you speak it and then it will email you the voice file.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, there's that. That's step 4 is like that aha moment when you just get an idea. And then step 5 is fantasy meets reality. So you have to look at what you've come up with realistically. So don't like go, oh my God, this is the best idea ever, and cradle it to you and give it a pat on the head and call it squishy. You have to look at it and go, this might be a crap idea. How could this idea be crap? Because chances are it is.
Okay.
And then you can make it good. So, it might be the beginning of an amazing idea.
Well, that's the bit where the engineering comes in.
Yeah. Push it around to see what you can do with it. Talk to other people as well, because other people will go, well, that's a crap idea, but why don't you do this with it? And that kind of brings me on to one of the podcasts that I was listening to that made me think of all this was accidental art ideas and films. Right. And then that led me into a YouTube wormhole of unscripted movie moments. So did you know, for example, that in The Usual Suspects, the lineup scene where they're all giggling, did you know that was completely unscripted? And the reason they're all giggling is because Benicio del Toro had the terrible farts.
Right.
And he couldn't stop. And they were all just giggling.
Did you know that in Full Metal Jacket, where the Sergeant Major is yelling at the recruits, he just went off on one. He had a script and he just didn't do it. And he just went mental and yelled at everybody for 20 minutes. And they just filmed it.
That was really cool. Yeah. And my favourite of all, and you're going to love this because it's one of our favourite Christmas films, Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Hans Gruber's death face at the end when he's falling?
Yes.
That was totally unscripted. Well, it wasn't unscripted, but the director dropped Alan Rickman off the building much sooner than Alan Rickman was expecting. So his facial expression is real. He was really pissed off about it, apparently, as well. But I think that's one of my favourite movie facts of all because I love Alan Rickman. So, yeah. Oh, and The Matrix. Oh, my goodness. The Matrix, as its first idea with the first script that came through, was complete shit. It was originally in a chat room and they had all these terrible names and the script was just, oh my God, it was like a terrible 3-year-old wrote the most stilted copy ever. It's really funny. Do a little bit of digging into... And the original Star Wars scripts as well.
Keanu Reeves, to be fair, kind of stilts whatever he's given.
Well, he was good in The Matrix, so it was written for him. But yeah, the original Star Wars as well was... did you know that originally Han Solo was going to be a giant green alien with big gills?
They just couldn't afford it.
Well, no, I think the people just looked at George Lucas's thing and was like, well, this is crap, we're going to need to change the whole thing. And they changed the whole thing and it ended up being a masterpiece. So you can you should dig into all this if you're a movie fan, which I am. It's fun stuff, looking at where films started off and the accidental stuff that happened to make them iconic. And when Brad Pitt gets punched in the ear by Tyler Durden in Fight Club, that was kind of off script as well because the director went up to Edward Norton and said, hit him a bit harder than he's expecting. And not only did he not hit him in the chest, he hit him in the ear. So Brad Pitt's reaction is genuine. That was his completely off script. Oh my fucking God, he hit me in the ear. That was real. It was really cool. I love that kind of thing. Good. I like movie trivia. Anyway, so Joe, do you want to sum up the 5-step idea grabbing process? Okay, we're going to have to be quick because we're at 28 minutes. Okay, step 1, gather your ingredients, which is where you learn stuff, you read things, you think about stuff, you look in different directions, you gather all of the stuff into your head that you can possibly get. Yeah. Keep looking, keep thinking, keep finding out new things. Step 2, digest it all. Look at it all, turn it around, roll it all over, stick lumps of it together, pick the peanuts out, and I don't know. Step 3, unconscious thinking. Go to sleep, basically. That's where you stop thinking about it. Go and do something else. Step 4, you'll have an aha moment at some point, and make sure that you can capture that in some way. Otherwise, it'll just dribble out of your ears and be gone. Yeah. Step 5, now you've got a bright idea and you need to test it, you need to try it, you need to turn it into a real thing. You need to see why it's going to work, why it's not going to work. You need to design it and sort it out so that it will be a thing. Yeah. And that's it. That was your 5. Yeah. Nice. Cool. I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap. Yeah. So coming up next week, I think we should talk about the Chelsea principle. I do know what that means, but I can't remember it. That's okay. Chelsea principle. We'll talk about it next week. Okay. Don't give it away. Oh, okay. So it follows on from this kind of, because to come up with ideas and be unique, you have to be a bit bold and brave. So we'll talk about that next week. In the meantime, though, what to do with all of your shiny new ideas after you've put this process into action? How do you make them into something without procrastinating? Good question. Well, the good news is that I can help you with that with this week's Small Business Superheroes Inner Circle teleclass, which just went out today. Well, not today, because now you're listening at the weekend probably, and it was Monday when I recorded this. But January's Inner Circle teleclass was all about procrastination and how to beat it and why we procrastinate. And it's really interesting.
Okay.
So you should join and learn about that. And then the February newsletter follows on from that because it's all about good habits.
So if I join the Inner Circle now, do I get old teleclasses?
You get all of the old teleclasses because they're all up in the members area.
Cool.
2.5 years worth of them. It's like 12, 24, 30 odd. Many. Yeah, many. Including interviews with other people.
Cool.
So yeah, you can join, by the way, at businessforsuperheroes.com/inner-circle. And if you do join before the end of February, I have a special offer on at the moment. In fact, no, that's the wrong URL. The URL that you want to go to is businessforsuperheroes.com/superbrain.
Oh.
Because if you join before the end of February, and that link will self-destruct in beginning of February, you get a free Borrow My Brain 1-to-1 30-minute Skype consultation.
Cool.
But only if you join before the end of January. That's worth, by the way, well, it's priceless, frankly.
Priceless.
But I flog it for £250 plus VAT.
Nice.
So that's probably one of my best bonuses.
That's a good freebie.
It's good free, but it's one of the best bonuses I've ever given away. And all of my Inner Circle members current are getting that same offer because I don't believe in doing the whole we want amazing new customers and stuff the old ones.
Yeah, look after the old ones.
And those slots are going fast, so
sign up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, thanks very much.
No worries.
Have a lovely week. If you can't be good, don't get caught. Thanks, Joe.
If you can't be good, grow a beard.
That too.
Beard.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.